Well, folks, it's days like today that remind me why I absolutely hate trading. Things were looking so good. Bullish. We had momentum, higher highs, higher lows. Even the option chain was doing exactly what we wanted it to do. And then all of a sudden, right before your boy hits his profit target, or what I wanted my profit target to be, the market decides to turn, and it just didn't turn a little. It turned in a violent, pukey manner. And then right when it was going to kind of catch itself at the end of the day, nope. Puked again. We got some earnings, then the market really got its ball sack kicked in, and that leads us to right here when I'm filming this video, very upset that just being that far away from what I wanted it to be completely ruined my entire day. What I'm going to do in this video is break down all the craziness of today, but most importantly, I'm going to be setting up for what to pay attention to for tomorrow to conclude the week, because there's a lot coming down the pike, so you better listen up. Before we get into all that, if you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good jazz. And with that being said, it's time to rock. By the time the closing bell went dingity ding 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 to close the market and really put me out of my misery, here was the official headline. Stocks rise to kick off May as Microsoft and Meta rekindled the AI trade. That makes it sound way more optimistic than it actually was, because here's what really happened today. A little bit of weakness, big pump, huge pump, drop, higher low, looks like we're gonna go, and nope. Final 10 minutes in the day, SPY puke, Q's puke. You can see Apple having a negative reaction to its earnings, Amazon having a negative reaction to its earnings, and it's not just here in the tech sector. Weird heat map, a lot of weakness in healthcare. Eli Lilly reported their earnings, not so good. Tech technically green, but that's just because of how big of a gap up we had. So here's what happened. Rewinding to yesterday, right after the market closed, we heard from both Meta and Microsoft, and they went really well. So everything pumped, everything was looking green. And then that led us to this morning, where at 8:30, an hour before the market opened, we got initial jobless claims coming in slightly higher than anticipated. Then a little bit later, 9:45, 15 minutes into the trading day, we got some manufacturing numbers, a little lighter than expected. And then we got more manufacturing numbers, as you can see, a little bit lower, a little bit higher. And that actually, the market liked it. We got this pump. So we have the earnings beat, the continuation, a little bit of a breather. We got that 10 a.m. announcement and pump. And then for some reason, around 11:20, we just started to puke. Now, there's a couple reasons this might have happened. You could check this out. Trump says taxes will go 68% if Big Bill doesn't pass. So that could have caused a little bit, as you're about to see later in this video. There was some confusion of rising global tensions between the US and Iran. But in reality, if you look at the market, it's just because options started to puke. You can see right when the market peaked, a little bit after that, calls were dumped, puts were purchased, and it really never recovered. Yeah, it tried to get going in the close, but then once again at 350, like we saw in price, similar situation. Calls dumping, puts getting sold, the delta dropping, and basically the market just could not catch its footing. With respect to the trade war narrative, I find this whole thing a little bit surprising, because this is the first day in a while that we haven't gotten a major update. But yes, Trump did give various interviews and speeches and talks today, and we still got a little bit of a funny line. President Trump says Commerce Secretary Lutnick has no life because he's negotiating trade deals all the time. So I suppose a little bit of comedic relief, but in reality, we had those reports this morning and we're fully engaged in earnings season. As you could tell from what you saw just at the start of this video, Amazon and Apple reported not so good. Riot, Airbnb, and Reddit. So if you're owning those, make sure to check them out. I do want to remind you that tomorrow morning, we're going to have some energy plays, but hold on to that for 1 second, because let me show you the Amazon and Apple numbers. Apple EPS beat 165 versus 162. Revenue also beat 95.4 versus 94.6. Also on top of that, announced a new $100 billion buyback program. All of that is bullish, and yet we are going down because of services. Apple revenue tops Wall Street expectations, but services division comes in light, and that's exactly why right now Apple is down 2.66%. And as you can see, Amazon down 4.3%. Once again, a little crazy. The EPS beat 159 versus 136, and looking at revenue, that also beat 155.7 versus 155.1. But once again, you got to look under the hood. Amazon issues light guidance noting tariffs and trade policies as factors. So even though they both technically beat, They're both down because of things that you kind of notice when you look in the other numbers in these SEC filings and also commentary of what's going on with the trade war. Now, quickly rewinding, I do want to remind you there's other earnings tomorrow morning, ExxonMobil and Chevron. These are going to be interesting because obviously both are in the energy sector. And today we got kind of a big energy sector update. Breaking, oil prices surged towards 60 a barrel as President Trump threatens sanctions on any country that buys oil from Iran, more specifically, alert. And this is right from Donald Trump. All purchases of Iranian oil or petrochemical products must stop now. Any country or person who buys any amount of oil or petrochemicals from Iran will be subject to immediately secondary sanctions. They will not be allowed to do business with the U.S. in any way, shape, or form. Thank you for your attention on the matter, President Donald J. Trump. So yeah, in the short term, that caused things to go haywire. But looking at the daily chart, especially from the start of the year from now, clearly still lower highs and lower lows. But intraday, it clearly had quite the impact. So if you are an energy trader, that might be something to pay attention to. But I do want to remind you, obviously, we're still in earnings seasons. We're going to get a whole host of ones next week. And then on top of that, we're still in the middle of this narrative of the tariff war. And even though we didn't get an update today, based on the sell-off, you would think that we got a big negative update. Nothing to be found. Yeah, there were a couple things here and there, but if anything, calls got sold, puts got bought, the delta dropped. That forced market makers to re-hedge their books. And then before you know it, the entire market dropped. And now here we are waiting to see how we are going to conclude the week. I do want to remind you, tomorrow morning, an hour before the market opens, 8:30 a.m. ET, we are going to be getting the unemployment report. That is what you get on the first Friday of every new month. So this time around, Friday, May 2nd, that's going to be very influential an hour before the market opens tomorrow. So make sure to check that out if you happen to be swinging any positions, or if you're up early at the crack of dawn wondering if it's going to break in your favor or not. I definitely want to remind you of that. That's what I have for you now. I hope you did better on the day than I did. Your boy got his butt kicked, but hey, you survived to fight another day. That's what I have for you. I appreciate all the good vibes. I'll catch you in the next one.